Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Reaction Time. We are, as they might have said in 2003, in the hizzy for Rizzy. Anyway, Steven's here, Eric's here. We're here on behalf of the funky content.
In the hizzy.
In his house.
The hizzy is definitely funky.
And the funky content, the funky threads, which it may surprise you to see Steven sporting some funky threads.
Which you can get at the Funky store, funky.store. You should get some threads there. They're nostalgic and they're comfy. You should get them at the Funky store.
Not as nostalgic as the 2022 St. Louis Cardinals. That's a story for another day.
Albert Pujols,
a team near and dear to all of our hearts.
Albert Waino Molina.
I do enjoy golf.
It's like one of those movies where it's like all the like the grizzled actors, on like a final road trip.
I have one Cardinals take. If they actually do anything in the playoffs this year, it's actually a sports movie. Like, life isn't actually real anymore because they shouldn't be that good. But power of nostalgia, not that we know anything about that.
Nope.
Anyway, speaking of nostalgia, should we talk about the LCK first?
Go for it.
Because nothing makes me nostalgic for the olden days of League of Legends like T1 being the best team in the world.
By far.
By far. Actually, that's a little bit of a spicy take. Eric, is T1 the best team in the world by far?
I don't know about by far. I have a feeling that them versus V5 in MSI will be very telling. But yeah, like they look very strong. It's really, I don't want to get into global meta just yet, but like I have doubts on global meta, and then it goes into the usual conversation of like, does LPL have something, or are they just crazy? Because the LPL plays against these like T1 comps all the time, where it's like, you have poke, and then you have Faker being able to dash in on Ahri and hit a stun, and then you have a cleanup hyper carry with your engaged support, and it's like the same comp every time. Cookie cutter. Teams in LPL play this cookie cutter team. The other team doesn't care, and you just run at them real fast, and then your jungler plays Nocturne if you're top eSports. And so it turns out that LPL teams don't care. And then now the question is, when encountering T1, does just not caring work, or does just not caring mean you funnel kill pentas to their jinx multiple games in a row? That's kind of the question mark. And until you see it, it's pretty hard to know.
And so we start with Korea, not least because it's the least complicated one to talk about right now, because unlike the rest of our major regions, the LCK is down to its finals already, and it's exactly what everyone expected it would be. It's T1 Gen G. It's the two best teams from the regular season who got there, and as expected, it will, knock on whatever wooden object you have close, be the first time this season that both teams will be playing with their actual starting five, because both of the regular season best of threes between these teams, one team or the other team was missing a player or multiple players due to COVID. So we haven't actually seen them at full strength. However, Gen G struggled mightily to beat Damwon Kia in their semifinal matchup, going to 5 games, giving up a 10,000 gold lead and getting brutally stomped in an early game, and then perhaps successfully outscaling to win the game 5. But they did not look particularly out of the class of the 3rd and 4th place teams, where T1 continues to just kind of look better than everyone else. So the LCK final is on Saturday, early in the morning. It will be, I think, the first team at all to qualify for MSI for their home MSI, because MSI is in Busan this year. Do you see a surprise, either of you?
No.
I don't think you can.
No.
Unless you got some,
No.
like, the surprise might be how many games, but I just, no one has confidently, like, taken 3 games like that.
Again, I'm not sure how many individual games T1 has lost this year. It might not be, it's probably more than 3, but not by much.
Oh, I was just saying this is going to be 3 games.
I would lean the same.
3 games.
I would lean the same. I will be impressed with Gen.G if they take a game. And it's, as far as like the global question, we're not going to talk that much about it yet because we're going to get there once we know our rosters. The question remaining with T1 is, are they an NA best team where the rest of the league just sucks and they look better because of it? Because probably not, because they're a Korean team. But maybe the rest of the league sucks?
It's happened before. It wouldn't be an isolated incident.
The T1?
Yeah.
The TL?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The T1 TL. Yes. That was the year with Marin or whatever, I think.
Yep.
Where the other teams are just all tragic.
And I don't have the hours logged that you guys have, but looking at kind of like their spreads and those kind of things, they're really sticking to this comp that you outlined. Has anyone like cheesed a game off of it and forced them to pivot where they were slow to like adapt? Because
So from what I've seen, they've managed to pivot who has what roles around. So sometimes they pivot between is Faker on the poke versus is Zeus on the poke in top lane. But they've gotten a ton of Jace. They've gotten a ton of Ahri. And so it's like, so somewhat. However, Faker's shown a deep champion pool. And then he's also gotten the Kaisa games in. They can pivot roles between the two. No one else has won on Kaisa as far as I'm aware in mid lane. I've seen it lose horribly several times now.
And he only has the 2.
Yeah, but they've managed to pivot who's on the poke across their different players, even to bot lane, I believe. And then they just make sure to have a hyper carry somewhere else on the map. So like how they approach the game is more of what's cookie cutter more than the individual champions, although they are very deep on single champions somehow. That's what I would expect teams to try and punish more internationally. I don't think any other Korean team will punish them on it. This is another part of why I'm worried about T1 going into MSI or like a major world tournament, is that Korean teams tend to all follow similar play styles to what the best team is doing. And T1 is the best team, so teams will try and play that play style. And you don't see growth go out much in terms of like the how teams play the map realm of things. So like I need to see them play against teams who like don't poke to set up for dragon fights, who do just YOLO all in, and maybe be coin flipping or maybe be brilliant, the Hillsong effect, and then see how that plays out.
Yeah, because just looking at heat maps and just how they're playing, it's like they have their set style, and if they're not going to get challenged on it, or if someone's not going to, like, it looks like it's got to be like a team strategy that fundamentally breaks a poke comp away from them completely to where they're not willing to do it consistently. And in just a best of 5, I don't see how you break the poke comp to not at least consistently win 3 times in a row.
I don't know if you'd go for breaking the poke comp. I'd just ban every single hyper carry champion you possibly can, and then make it so that they have to approach a team fight differently. Like,
that'd be so hard because you got to take out Jinx, Aphelios, Xayah, Zeri.
Just ban Jinx, Aphelios, Zeri.
And
first
push him down to the
rotation.
Caitlyn. I mean, that's still really comfort.
Yeah. It is, but like Caitlyn is not a hyper carry to the same extent that the other 3 are.
No.
It has a much weaker mid game. So, Like I would do it. and then get absolutely punished by Tristana or something.
Yeah,
Like,
like, there's just so many options.
Ban them out. Just ban all three, and see how it goes. No trades. Trades bad.
Trade.
What do you think?
I'm gonna.
How do you think teams should punish T1?
I'm gonna say the fact that y'all had to state that Faker has a large champion pool, I think was. I think it was unnecessary because he's Faker.
Valid.
Sorry, I will forever remember this man locking Master Yi mid lane and dumpstering another team with it because he felt like it.
Yep.
And Riven mid, remember that too?
Oh yeah, and I remember him bringing Aurelia to mid lane before that was meta.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like it's the thing that people may have forgotten because T1 had fallen off over the last couple of years. Faker, in addition to being the greatest player of all time, can play any champion he feels like in the mid lane in addition to whatever's meta. Yes, this includes Azir. Shut up. Easy Hoon fanboys. For a vintage meme.
Very vintage.
Like, it's the factor with this team that, like, Guma has been the big carry. Like, that's a real thing. Faker is still Faker, and people need to not forget that, particularly at international tournaments. Like, it's spooky.
It's really interesting just looking at, like, the damage spread and the kill participation. It's, like, almost perfect for how you would look at it. Like, the damage spread is almost pretty much 25% across your bot, mid, top. And then your kill participation is exactly 71.9% for both your jungler and support. Like, what more do you want out of, like, play style and like team synergy? Like, kind of bonkers looking at it just at a top level.
So yeah,
all right.
Basically, the short version of this conversation is T1 is spooky.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably going to win MSI. I think, like, a conversation that we may have on a later podcast after we know who all is going to MSI is, would you take T1 or the field to win the tournament? And I think there would be arguments that taking T1 over the entire field would be a reasonable wager to make. But we'll discuss that at a later date once we know who is actually coming out of the LP.
So Faker, by the way, has played 71 unique champions in professional matches.
That is over half of the roster, if I'm not mistaken. Or right about at it. I forget if we've broken 140.
Interesting champions on this list include Mid Poppy with a 100% win rate.
With
he didn't win the Taric game. I remember the Taric game, though. The Taric in lane was rude. This was old Taric from the record.
That's insta-stun shatter looking.
Yeah. Yeah. So, 71. Most games played on Azir with a 69% win rate.
They got the numbers. We spent a lot of time on saying T1 is good. Also, I like to refer to him as SKT. You know. Which apparently is a big no-no.
They got rid of that branding. They did.
But it says SK Telecom T1.
It doesn't anymore, though.
Yeah, it does. It says SK right underneath it. What are you
in
talking?
tiny
letters.
Tiny text.
Just for me to read.
Their Twitter handle is T1. Their Twitter biography is official Twitter page of T1 Entertainment and Sports. T1 League of Legends page. Am I emphasizing T1 enough for you?
SKT?
T1.
Lame, bro.
Okay, let's talk about the LP next while we're in the business. because the LPL leads me to start a conversation that I think is interesting. I was thinking about champions that Faker could play that he hasn't played yet. And while I don't think it's likely, what better option could there be than the newest champion to the game, Renata Glask? And for some Renata gameplay, it looks like Top Esports enjoyed themselves some Renata gameplay in their 3-0 stomping of my LNG boys last night. I think Eric may have watched some of those games. Eric, how was Mark's Renata?
It was really good. To be fair, Jackie Love was 1v2ing most of lane phase, so you kind of have to like take a slight grain of salt here, which is that when Jackie Love is up 30 CS and double summoners on Aphelios like multiple games, you have there are other issues in play, but the Renato was really strong, as is mainly because LNG have to draft engage. They try and dash in. Renata Glask lays out the ultimate. LNG fall to pieces. It's very powerful. The other big thing it does is when your star players are Knight and Jackie Love, sometimes it is nice to be able to revive them when they hardened.
Mark in particular has 4 games on Renata, 3-1 record. The 3 wins: 0-1-14, 1-1-13, 0-1-16. Oh, sorry, he has a 4th victory. I missed it. 0-0-23. That's Top Esports.
Yup.
Eric, could Top Esports shock the world and go to MSI?
Yes. Like Wayward looks sick, especially on tanks, which is outrageous. He stomped Ale 2 games in a row where Ale was on like Jace or a carry, and he played Gragas and Malphite, and proceeded to like win team fights for them single-handedly on Gragas and Malphite. So it seems like a good meta for them as far as what champions people are playing. Jackie Love looks really comfortable on Aphelios when they keep letting him have it, and he can beat Jinx in lane really hard, which is not something we see in other regions necessarily. So I think they're very strong. We'll see how it goes when they go up against teams who don't try and play mid karma.
Which they have V5 next, which will be a very good test for them. Speaking of the mid lane, Ahri has been a somewhat hit and miss pick in a lot of regions. It's either looked really good or just awful. Knight with 2 dubs on Ahri in this series. Is he doing something right, or are all the NA mids trash? What?
It's both. Ahri's really good in the LPL. Like, really good in the LPL. Ahri and Lee Sin in the LPL have sick stats, and some sick win percentages. A part of it can be the LPL factor, which is that, people walk forward. And when you walk forward without vision into charm, you die. Surprise, surprise. But they also just have like sick team fighting. Like if you watch Knight's mechanics on this champion, or you watch even Angel's mechanics on this champion, like you can see what it does in these games, and the damage output is very substantial there. So look at their damage numbers in team fights. If you question the pick in NA, watch Ahri's damage output in team fights, and if the number is low, that's a sign that there's an uncomfortable pilot, or they don't quite understand how to position as a team with this pick, and that might not be a resolvable issue.
Yeah,
it started to pick up.
It's interesting. Ahri has, let's see, 50% win rate in the LPL, 50% win rate in the LCK across like 100 some games between the 2 regions.
Very high presence.
Across 30 games in the LCS and LEC combined, we got We got a 32% win rate in the LCS over 25 games, and a big ol' 0-5 in the LEC.
Yikers!
It's not an EU champion. not an EU champion. They still trying to make TF happen.
Which, like, that means that the global win rate is below 50%. But
there might be some statistics tanking that.
Perks? No. Couldn't be. Couldn't be.
Anyway, the other thing with LPL, this is a bit of an incomplete picture because we haven't seen V5 and Royal Never Give Up play yet, because as the top 2 seeds, they have a bye through the first 3 rounds of LPL playoffs. They go straight to the bracket stage, where the other 8 teams have to battle it out to get to 2 remaining to join them in the double bracket stage. So we have top eSports who have made it out of one side of the early rounds. And tonight we have JDG against Weibo Gaming for the other spots in the double bracket round. Eric, do you think Weibo Gaming is going to follow top eSports by winning a second game, or is JDG going to take it and join the top?
I think they do. JDG is on form right now, but so is the Shy, and I have learned that I will bet money on the Shy and SOFM in challenging game. SOFM, by the way, has pulled out a brand new jungle pick. Steven, how do you feel about Jungle Zed with Stride Breaker? Stride Breaker into Black Cleaver.
I think it's interesting. Like, was Viego, Volibear, and Lee Sin banned in this? Like, I don't see the advantage when there's a lot of AD threats that you could bring in. Like, even Talon is still viable.
He definitely picked it in the last 2 picks of the draft.
Okay.
But
did it do well?
So, yeah, it was really gross. Yeah.
Interesting.
So what he does is he throws in the shadow on top of the Jinx and then spins and chucks a shuriken.
Oh, did someone tell Pride Stalker this?
Yeah, and then he runs away. And then the enemy team's Hecarim, who's 9-1-15 at this point in the game, chases him around the entire enemy jungle while his team loses the team fight. And then EDG loses the series.
I just like it noted that in this game, Lee Sin was the only jungle ban.
Interesting. Well, like when Lee
Sin was banned and Hecarim was picked by the other team.
When you look at it, like there isn't a ton of like oppressive CC for Zed to not just run buck wild, and like unless there's like a Tom Kench, which has been really gutted and saving your very immobile hyper carries. Wow, that's actually kind of like some upper echelons of thinking.
I'm special.
That's fun. Actually, that's really fun. Like, how do you punish
with tank
that?
items?
Yeah, I like that. That's kind of actually disgusting.
Speaking of pick bans, so this was Weibo ADG game 4.
It's nuts. Why was
MF there?
There's a lot of questions I have with this game. There's a lot of questions.
Why was Viper playing MF? I don't understand that. That's not in the meta.
I have questions.
He was trying to win lane, is my answer, and it didn't work. It really didn't work.
And also, how does EDG lose this game with a Hecarim with 10 kills?
He couldn't get on anyone.
As I said, he tries to chase off SOFM's trolly jungle set so that he doesn't kill Viper. So then he's like off chasing Zed through the jungle on this merry goose chase, and then his team dies. So it's like
he wasn't going to kill the
Zed. This game, and I see JJ 10-1-6 on Hecarim, and yet you lost down 7,000 gold. What did we do here?
Flandre also ate a number of skill shots. Is the other unfortunate thing about this game. A number
man.
of skill shots happened to hit Flandre, and like I am a Flandre apologist, so I will say that it is not just Flandre's fault. It's the fact that they really didn't have many people who could face check bushes besides JJ, and so Flandre would walk into a bush first after throwing out a shock blast, not hit the trolley Jungle Zed, or I forget who their support was, uh, and then would get hit by a skill shot and then would be dead immediately. And so it was like very tragic, and it was really tied to like LPL vision gameplay. And it did not look good for Flandre in that game.
Well, it did. Like looking through this series, just
It did.
From,
It was not a good series for
I was about
Flandre.
to say like there's a lot of more apologizing. I think you need to start doing.
Well, no. I don't need to. So the other games, I can just talk about the Shy things, which is the Shy definitely had several 1v2s.
Yeah.
And earlier in the series, looked in peak form. And like the bigger concern to me was that EDG wasn't really winning the flip side of the map as this was happening. And you needed to win bot lane when that was going on, and they did not. Except for and that was true of all games, all four. Take a look at the game EDG won, which was the biggest 1v9 of the split so far.
Yeah, Scout pressed buttons at him, didn't he?
Yeah.
He clicked on him.
Yeah. You mind reading out Scout's stat line from that game on Azir?
Azir, nothing too unusual. 10, 2, 3 with 418 CS.
And how many kills total did EGG have in that game?
In that game, they had a total of 23 kills.
Yeah. So he had over 50% kill participation and almost half of the team's kills. And most of it was as he was the only person alive on their team. So it was gross.
Yeah, but how was Flandre doing against?
Oh, he was dying. He was dying.
I am seeing that is correct.
Yeah, Vladimir game wasn't really his fault as much. It was actually just that like he got jungle attention and EDG couldn't do anything else on the map, and then they didn't get to a point where they could actually team fight with the Vladimir well in that game, which was tragic because they had a lot of scaling elements in game 2 and they just got destroyed. So yeah,
was
like
JJ
Weibo looked really good.
Was he just?
He was sleeping until game 4.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden he has a good game in game 4, and it doesn't matter because by that point the rest of his team is hard inting.
Yes. Oh no.
So we're gonna not go too much deeper on the LPL just because I look and like
there's a lot to play.
It's JDG Wybos tonight. We'll have one team come out of that, and then we're kind of with these 4 teams for another 2.5 weeks yet. Because it's got an upper and lower bracket for these teams. We'll have the start with V5 top and the winner of JDG Wybo against Royal. But then there's a loser's bracket to eliminate one team. There's a loser's bracket final to eliminate another team. So like these 4 teams are going to be around for our discussion for a while. So we'll come back to them. That final's not until April 17th. So we got lots of time for the LPL to be done. Where the LCK is going to be done literally 2 weeks ahead of that. So like, the more you know. Anyway, closer to home, let's speculate on the other league that has actually had games played yet before we come home to NA. Because the LEC has successfully eliminated a whole 1 team. So they're also down to 5. Sorry, Excel, you made it, but you're dead now. After a good fight. Eric, what were
I
your
don't
thoughts
think it was a good fight.
Out of Excel Vitality. You want to talk about that?
I thought it was a good fight up until game 5 when they pick Mordekaiser for Finn in top lane, and at that point it's like, what are you doing? This is perks in a game 5, you fools! And then obviously they get absolutely smashed, and then it ends, and it was. I blame player hubris for them throwing this series. Also, the other team should be very angry at Excel for letting Vitality play more games.
Yes.
If they should have lost, they should have lost in 3, because if Perks and Alfari actually figure out how to play on a map, this team is finally a problem. It's kind of like when TSM was in like the first round of like Gauntlet or whatever back in 2015 or 16. And then like, oh great, Bjergsen gets to play like 8 best of 5s. Guess who's going to Worlds again? It's the same thing. So it's very dangerous for the other teams, but
let's talk there first, because we get the grudge match in the next round of the lower bracket, because we get to see Vitality G2, which is spicy on the narrative. G2 won 1 game against Fnatic in their best of 5 in the first round, but can Vitality pull it off again?
I would say yes. G2 didn't look very good to me. And that's very sad because, Gankos is having a good split. Broken Blade looks phenomenal. To be fair, there was a lot of bot lane diff in that series, which might not happen against Vitality. But I think they could pull it off again. G2 looks weaker than anticipated going into this round, and Vitality seems to finally be emerging from their chrysalis.
So then the question is, like, not to completely ignore the upper bracket. We see, if we can see Vitality beating G2, that means Vitality with 2 best of 5s under their belt are going to play Misfits. Could you see Vitality beating Misfits in a best of 5?
I will go with yes again, because Misfits really showed just weakness in maturity in best of 5s against Rogue from what I saw on the Rift. And if you talk about weakness or immaturity in best of 5s, that's the thing that is not Vitality. Vitality, who have like too many best of 5s, arguably at least.
and if you go to that point, not that I want you to go too deep on it, it's Vitality against Rogue in a best of 5 in the EU finals. Do you trust Rogue?
I trust the player cam on Perks, where he is laughing the entire time, regardless of if they win or lose. That is what I trust.
Because, like, if we want to build some narrative there, like, Rogue looks great. They're in the upper bracket doing what they're doing. But if Vitality does this TSM-y thing and just crawls up the lower bracket and eats everybody else's lunch, and we suddenly get to the finals and it's Vitality Rogue for all the cookies and the MSI spot in the championship that Rogue probably should have won multiple times at this point and hasn't yet.
I don't see that happening.
You can't see it?
No. Like Rogue looks really good.
Strong.
Yeah, like they when Larson isn't trolling, like like the Kai'Sa pick was abysmal, and especially like otherwise they look like Malbrang looks great. I think Eric even said like this is World's jungle contention. Like this is a good looking player. Odo is like got his hands for right now. Comp can do really gross things when he wants to. And Trimby looks a lot better. And I just don't like Vitality. I feel like is like a cobbled together car. Like when it runs, it's like everything's good, but you turn off the engine, it's like, oh my god, I gotta turn it back on now.
Here's the problem, though. You got a big old V6 in that mid lane.
Sure, and
it goes real fast once it gets going.
Right, but is the oil changed? Like, is it kind of cold out? Do we check the battery? Like, is it just gonna decide? Like, yeah, it's time to run it down. Like, I don't know, man.
Based on a lot of the videos I've watched on Reddit of Mustang owners.
Exactly. Exactly. I think it's a good comparable, like, this is the situation we're going to run into. You've got a lot of games that Vitality has to function like consistently. That's what you're going to. Nah, it's not happening. Like, I just don't see it.
So all of that said, like, they're here. They've got a lower bracket game to play against G2, which is a fun narrative game. We'll see. Like, I think that's going to be a very interesting game for how the rest of this playoffs goes. Because in theory, based on regular season results, Misfits should handle whoever wins that game. Like, in theory. How did you think Misfits underperformed because Rogue looks so good, or was that just Rogue being so much better?
I think it was both, like, both underperforming and Rogue looking incredible. Like, my actual comment was from the chat logs was that Malrong looks like a top 5 jungler right now in the world, which is really good when you think about who the other junglers in the world are right now. And like, it to me definitely looked like Vethio, as well as is it Schlatan in the jungle, had serious nerves on stage.
Ooh, yeah.
And choked pretty. Schlatan in particular choked pretty
that's
hard.
regular season MVP Vethio that did not look up to snuff.
Yeah, and so, like, I don't actually know if Misfits can win another best of or a best of in playoffs with how they look right now. They really need to get out of the funk of rookie on-stage playoffs nerves and then take it to whoever they end up against, because, like, either Vitality or G2 are both really gross teams to run up to here in that kind of scenario, because, like, if you show nerves, both of them can punish.
Like, even just in lane, right? You have Vethio, who had an amazing regular season, like, unquestionably great. Congratulations, in your lower bracket game, you get to go against either Perks or Caps. Hope you're not nervous.
Well, I think even looking at the jungle top synergy is really kind of spooky, because Hirat looked like the epitome of hesitation. Like, you're on Kennen, you have a good flank, go in. His, like, the only game they won was on the Camille, where he actually just, like, committed and was, like, did Camille things and did the split push and, like, attacked people with the jungle synergy. And Shetland was on Lee Sin and looked bonkers. But that only works if you press the go buttons, if you use your wind move. And you can't do that you can't hesitate against teams that have the, like, experience.
We also saw, like, in the final game, Vethio locked the Akali, which, was his, like, pop-off pick regular season that maybe won him MVP. And he got absolutely destroyed in lane.
Yep, he got clicked on.
Clapped. That was ugly.
Yeah, by Larson, but with some help, but mainly Larson. And if that's going to be their answer, like, if that's going to be, like, their fallback is Vethio's on Akali, I don't think that will do well with either either Caps or Perks, as far as, like, getting out of that lane with an advantage.
And like, that game 4 was where Rogue looked the strongest. Like, they're the most confident in their play style. And, like, I don't know. I really just don't see Vitality taking G2. I think so that's why I go into, like, G2 would devastate this Misfits lineup if they're this shaky.
Anyway, we've talked enough about the lower bracket teams. Fnatic, Rogue, who wins?
I think it's Rogue.
I think it's Fnatic. I'll be on the other side.
Yeah.
I think Hilly Upset is too good at League of Legends, and I'm excited to see how bot lane stat wise plays out in this set.
Yeah, I think, like, while they're good, I don't think they're good enough to override just like that jungle mid synergy, and then like Comp and Trimby are perfectly fine just kind of being left to their own devices and then letting the top side of the map do what they want to do, and then as long as they're not too far behind, like Hilly upset, like
they can't play to Odo. What are you talking about? Like, and not because Odo is bad or anything. It's like it's just you can't give him that satisfaction. You have to play through bot side. They're gonna play through bot side. It's gonna be a rumble in the bot lane, and Hilly upset are gonna smash him.
Sure. I think it's more like you play towards top side to get Malrung, like big beefy boy, and then he's gonna put a J4 flag right
to go through Larson in mid lane. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what they do. That's how it be. So
I think Self-Made's gonna run it down.
That's the Vitality game.
Oh yeah.
You're thinking of Razor,
he's not Fnatic
who
anymore,
also can do
he's
that.
Not Razor could still run it down.
I think Razor might run it
down. However, the thing you have to remember is that it's hard for Razor to run it down when Hylissang is running in front of him the entire time. So who's running it down is like a question mark with this team because they all are. That's the answer. That's their secret.
And I think that's just fine for Rogue to handle, and they will. Malrung's strong.
I was gonna say I'm gonna be with Steven here. I trust Malrung.
He looks really good. Like, this is one of the closest matchups, I think, as far as expectations and just general ceilings.
Well, and it's right like now. We've talked the rest of this series. I expect this will be the final too.
Yeah. Oh, like 100%.
Fnatic should come through the lower bracket. They're better than the rest of the teams. So we should get to see this again either way.
The only way this doesn't come back is if Rogue somehow has Rogue time show up again, right? Yeah. Like if it turns out that Fnatic finds
it'll be against Vitality, guaranteed if it happens. 100%.
Yeah. It's like if Fnatic finds a way to expose like Rogue's weakness with a meta pick or with a certain window in the game, that is when we have to be worried about the rematch happening. But it sure looks like Malrung refuses to let Rogue time occur.
Yeah. And the champions that he can play are the ones to you want holding back the door on that. Yeah.
Like there was one game against Misfits where they were starting to throw, and you could see it happening. Like it's 25 minutes. It's like I'm starting to sweat. It's like they've been walking around this dragon for a little long now. Oh boy, here we go. And then Malrung just is like, no. EQ ult in there, press my buttons, flash and run away, and then the team does their job. And it's like, thank you, Malrung, for not letting them do this yet again. Because they tried. Oh, did they try?
They did try. I was concerned at that moment. So there you have it. At EU, we have Vitality NG2 on Friday, Fnatic Rogue on Saturday, and then Misfits against the winner of Vitality and G2 on Sunday for this weekend's matches before we get to the real spice. Next weekend, EU will finish the weekend between LCK and there you go. Now back to our trash children right here at home. Our lovely North American fun bag. So Eric tried to bait me into thinking Dignitas was going to pull it off this weekend, and they didn't. Sucker.
It was close though.
Close enough.
Hand grenade, something.
Not close enough.
CLG just give you the easy lob. Like, here's our academy team.
Close, baby. You won the tiebreaker too. I don't care. Not even close, baby. And guess what? We're gonna beat that Team Liquid ass week 1 too.
No, not on any planet does that happen. You might get a game for Bwipo.
No, I think they're going to get 3-0'd. I don't think it's going to be close.
Well, we should talk about why, though, because I think it is interesting.
Yeah.
And the why to me is that JoJo and Danny still are very weak in knowing where to stand on the map after they win their lane.
And when you're playing against a core team, that's going to go bad for you every time.
Yeah. So that's why and it largely is just this, because raw mechanics EG is fantastic, and Jojo and Danny both have absurd laning stats, and can definitely press home advantages. It's just that
Danny has not known what to do with a lead all fucking split, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
That's my point, is that next split, this team is a very different team at this point in the game, and if they can figure these out and be disciplined and coached, assuming that something doesn't really shake them up in between the splits, this is a different conversation at that time. But right now it's just it's too easy for Team Liquid just to punish. 3-0 easy clap. GG, no re.
I literally cheer for this team, and I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be close.
If it is, that's really upsetting for me. I'll be honest.
I am content with the fact that they got into the upper bracket to begin with, because I winning that 4th place playoff with FlyQuest, I think, is really big for them to get multiple best of 5s of experience for sure this split. I think that's going to be really, really important for for JoJo's development. Because they're going to get at least 2 for sure, and I think they can probably take a best of off of Golden Guardians or FlyQuest when they drop down. I feel okay about that. So then, if it, as an EG perspective person, then you see you get this best of against TL, which you're probably going to lose. You get Golden Guardians or FlyQuest, which you can win. Then you probably get 100T, which will be harder, but I think is a winnable series. And at that point, you're made to the lower bracket finals. You're in top 3 in NA. That's there's a path there, even with probably getting 3-0'd this week. That as a fan of the team and a fan of the players, there's still a lot they can get out of this playoffs, even if they get shit stomped this weekend. And say, Eric, I'd be curious to hear if you're feeling about the same about 100T. Because I think they might be in a little bit of a similar place, even if C9 is a little bit more achievable for them.
C9 is a bit more achievable, although I could just be riding the high of watching Someday get an easy pass off of Summit and lane phase in their last game, where Summit doesn't flash Malphite ultimate for some inexplicable reason and then gets 1v1 multiple times. That was really great.
I've successfully flashed Malphite Aris before, and I am in iron as fuck.
Yeah. So he must have just thought he didn't need to, and surprise, surprise. That's why Steven calls the combo the Shamrock Shake. Yeah. I don't know. I'm feeling better for their odds in this split playoffs because of the fact that they did start looking like they've understood how to play together as a team in the last couple of weeks of the regular season. I don't have, because they did do the run back on this roster. It is kind of awkward though for going into next split, where if they don't top 2 this split, what can they do next split is a big question mark, because now they've had the full 6 months of working with Reapered, and the team had some of the same flaws in the regular season with a weaker bot lane play. Now they're starting to look better. Here's their best of 5s with Reapered, and it's this is the split playoffs where I want to see it pay off. And if it doesn't look like it pays off here, then can they beat C9 or TL ever is a very reasonable question to take into next split without making some changes. And it's really hard, because it's what do you change? Do you drop your prior split MVP closer? Do you drop Abadage for another import EU mid laner? Do you sub out your all-star bot lane? What do you do here? Because dropping Someday does not look like an answer right now. So it's very hard. And if I expect them to end in top 3, the question mark is what can they do if they don't win here? And I don't really know. Hope for C9 and TL to send their MVP players back to Korea and EU. That's what they can hope for, is that this is a repeat season and they're just gonna leave.
As is tradition.
No, to a certain degree, like Steven as the resident TL fan, confidence is there.
Mm-hmm.
Confidence for other teams comes like Core retires, maybe? Maybe?
Honestly, like, I'm super shocked that this, like, I would call it a super team, like, worked so well. And that is probably the spookiest thing that could have happened to North America, was that someone didn't, like, completely fall apart. You could always have Bupo get, like, in a nasty text conversation with someone, and then he just decides to run it down in playoffs or something like that. But I think this is really stellar that this team is working out. I think that with League of Legends, like, maybe we're hitting a point where you are just investing in, like, your players for long-term success, and hoping that the meta shifts, or, like, just your synergies pick up to where you can be competitive with a team that is wallet crafted. Get good is the answer. Everyone else should just get good.
So like, the bottom line is we've talked about the two matchups that are this weekend. And, like, I don't feel like either of them feels like it's going to be close. I'd love to be wrong, but, like, it just, based on how the teams look,
I would really
likely
want
to me.
I want to see 100 Thieves and Cloud9 be a close game. I think it should be. I think Cloud9 should be punished for, like, completely derailing themselves and still looking stellar. Is kind of upsetty spaghetti to me.
Look, man, they got some good players too.
They do. Like, Fudge is really a shock to me in the mid lane. Like, somebody saw that and made that call. That's pretty cool. That's neat.
And, like, Berserker clearly is a win of a buy. Like, that.
Oh, yeah.
That scouting has paid off. And Summit is pretty much what was advertised. The Malphite flip fail aside, like, he is. He is exactly what he was supposed to be, which is a really good Korean top laner. So, like, yeah, I hope for interesting games this weekend. Like, I hope EGTL is more interesting than I think it will be. My brain does not think it will be very interesting.
I really don't want it to be, yeah.
I think that the rest of NA playoffs could be very interesting. Because, like, these two matchups could be about the most lopsided we'll see for a while. Right? Because it feels like the top two are pretty dominant. So, like, the weekend where the top two get to play their first round matchups against weaker teams should probably not be very close. But then you have this big old group of teams that was 3, 4, 5, 6, right? With Golden Guardians and FlyQuest added into the mix. And I have no idea how that lower bracket's going to shake out. It's going to be fun. Like, I could see any of those teams, like, even with, like, optimistic EG fan, I could see any of these four teams coming out of it. Chaos.
I want that. Like, if we're talking about the health of the league and like, improving to where we are showing up at, like, MSI for some reason, or Worlds, like, these teams should be really challenging one another. So as much as I like being a Liquid fanboy and we just easy clapping the league, I hope that what we're seeing with, like, EG 100 Thieves, and to some extent FlyQuest was really showing us some stuff.
Golden Guardians too. They've an awesome split.
Yeah, but, like, I didn't want to, but yeah, you're right. They've really shown up. So I'm glad this middle of the pack isn't just so far behind the top two. I think we've seen further, definitely, in the past. So this is a very interesting split to me.
Yeah. So we don't get, like, as I think we've previewed pretty extensively. I don't think this weekend's going to be that interesting in NA. Watch the other leagues. They all are going to be more interesting. Probably. Then, like, NA doesn't finish until the 24th of April. It finishes last of the 4 major regions. So we got a lot of time before this shakes out. I think next weekend's games are going to be fascinating, pretty much no matter who ends up in them. We'll talk about more of them more once we know who's going to be in them. But, like, this weekend, I would say, even as an NA resident and somewhat NA fan, watch the other leagues, because this is just the appetizer for before we really get into the fun parts of the NA playoffs. Eric, TL versus the field to come be NA's representative to MSI.
TL versus TL versus the field.
Anyone else?
Oh man. I think they'll actually be a pretty decent set against the EU team. TL has good odds of being top 4, is how I would phrase things, which is important.
Doubt it.
Okay.
Doubt.
Never mind. We will never have a first seed ever again. This is doomed. Sorry, I should say TL is our best last hope to get a first seed at Worlds. So
we're gonna lose the Brazilian team.
Oh gosh. Oh no. Definitely not, for the record. That's not going to happen. The bigger issue is, like, what's the LMS team like? I don't think they're that good right now.
Oh man, are they literally gonna get kaboomed? They're gonna get kaboomed.
No. Oh boy.
Illegal.
Why are you doing this to me?
Kaboom's number 1 team in the CBLOL right now. They're gonna get kaboomed.
I think T1's a really bad stylistic matchup for TL. So, in addition to T1 being T1, and then V5 is interesting. Like, I could see them maybe taking a game off of V5, but not beating them in a best of series.
They're also going to get beat by Chiefs.
That's not happening. That's straight up impossible. Just gonna throw it out there.
Chiefs, who had a delightful best of 5 themselves with Pentanet in the Oceanic upper bracket, in a big best of 5 win over Pentanet this weekend in 5 games, looking to take back their crown of Oceania after a few splits away from the crown. I have several old Chiefs summoner icons. Don't question. They're great. So, and yeah, the Chiefs Pentanet series, unironically, was a ton of fun to watch. The LCO has a little bit of baby LPL to it, as it kind of always has. It is delightful to watch. I will always advocate for Australian players. Anyway, there you have it. Talked a little about Renata, talked a little bit about Ari, talked about a lot of other stuff. Talked about nostalgia,
which you can get at the Funky store, funky.store. You should go there to get some funky merch, because it supports the channel, which you can like and subscribe and do all those good things, and follow our socials at Funky Games. We're everywhere. We're doing all kinds of cool stuff, like playing old video games, playing new video games, and doing podcasts. So you should check that out. We really appreciate it, and drop a comment so we can chat. I'm here. We're all here. We're having a good time.
There you have it. Eric, what you playing?
I've been playing Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. My class is currently Hammer Zerker, which is when I'm a claw, whatever it is. I'm the one with the little dragon friend, and so I run around and I hit things with a giant hammer, and that's what I'm doing, and it's a blast. I love that game. A lot of D&D references.
It really? Tiny Tina's Wonderland?
Really,
D&D?
really. Yeah. A lot of D&D reference.
How could that have happened?
Steven, what you playing?
I'm back on my bullshit with Pokemon Unite. That's been kind of fun. Are
you also triggered by the Duraludon meta?
No, because I'm a sword. I play Aegislash, so I'm a sword.
Because all I've heard is people complaining about Duraludon being busted.
He might have been. I just, like, when I was supposed to be here recording this podcast, because David tricked me, I did just get clapped by Duraldon, so maybe I just haven't played enough games to realize how OP it is.
All I can tell you is all of Pokemon Unite Reddit is bitching about Duraludon being busted as shit.
Oh, okay, well, I have extra coins. I guess I'm picking that up to get a quick Masters rank, because that was something I definitely should have done earlier in the game, so I need to do that real quick. So I have no morals. I can play an OP character to get some rank. And then I plan on finishing Pokemon Arceus, so I'm really Pokemon-y the next couple weeks, so I'm hyphy.
And speaking of Pokemon-y, I have been grinding my hours on Shining Pearl. Yet again, that is what I've spent the most time playing this week. I achieved one of my goals and unlocked the national dex before challenging the Elite Four, which means that I've completely redone my party because I hit a hilarious points in my gameplay where I achieved my national dex goal, and I'm like, okay, cool, I can go fight the Elite Four now because I achieved my goal. Wait, I only have 2 Pokemon that are an appropriate level for this because I've been fucking around for about 20 hours of gameplay. So I need to actually find and level a party that I enjoy, which I have now done, and I'm only using like 3 things that aren't naturally in the game because you can find anything you want in the Grand Underground after you have the national dex unlocked. I have all 12 available starters now in the game because I've done a little bit of that grinding. So if I wanted to have a full just all starters party, wouldn't be very good, but I could do it.
This is like the epitome of like, what do we do now? What do you mean? We play the game. We get to play the game now.
So I've constructed a party that I feel okay about, and I've got it almost all the way to 60, and then we will go lose to Cynthia.
Excellent. Gar
because I know I need to beat that, and after I beat this Elite Four, I will go back to Legends Arceus to clean up all the stupid Spiritomb lights.
The quests. You must complete the quest. Find the lights.
Spiritomb is the only dex thing I'm missing before I can do Arceus. So I have to do that, and I just don't want to yet. That's why I haven't been doing it.
Yes.
Because then I can do everything else, and then I get my Arceus and Shining Pearl and do the whole 9 yards. It's just I finished all of the decks except Spiritomb, and then I'm like I'm done with this for now. I hit a point where I was all but Spiritomb in both dexes. And I'm like, nope, I'm done for like 3 weeks. We're taking a break. I don't want to do this grind anymore. But then we got one, so now we're going to do the other after we beat the Elite Four. That's the plan. So yeah, I'm also hard on that Pokemon grind, and I've been back heavily into Pokemon Go lately. Speaking of things that Steven hasn't opened in 9 months, not that I would complain about the gift of mine he hasn't opened or anything.
So I will confess that has nothing to do because I do play a lot of Pokemon Go. I don't have item slots, so I don't bother with the gifts. So I will clear out some items.
Coward.
I will open some gifts. I will.
Coward.
I'll do that. I'll fix it.
Delete all your potions, coward.
I'll do better. I'll do better. I'm so sorry.
You're not even my best friend yet. How dare you? You make me sad.
Cyberbullying is a federal crime. Please report.
And Eric quit playing the game like 4 years ago, so I can't bully him.
Eric is good about like committing to quitting a game. It's commendable, actually.
No, Eric only plays his waifu games on his phone. Shout out to Fire Emblem Heroes.
I actually have uninstalled that and haven't played in like 4 years. But yeah.
Proud of you.
Yeah.
What's your mobile game of choice these days, Eric?
I actually got rid of like all of them recently. I had been playing either Runeterra or Teamfight Tactics. Teamfight Tactics on mobile tilts me too much because I accidentally sell shit, and Runeterra was too many gigs of phone space. So
Genshin on my phone is too many gigs of phone space.
Yeah, so
it's like 20 gigs of phone space.
So I've gotten rid of all games on my phone right now. So what I would do instead is open up chess.com and do puzzles.
That's I do I do some TFT on my phone. Like that's probably the one I spend the most time on, other than Go. But then it's like I need to uninstall a bunch of old ones because I still have Fire Emblem Heroes installed on my phone, and I haven't opened that in about 5 years. Speaking of waifu games. Anyway, details. I was gonna make another mobile gaming point. I don't remember what it was. So, are you guys Wordle guys? Speaking of things I do on my phone every day, are you a Wordle boy?
Nope.
Okay.
No, I don't.
You can't do it.
No, if it's too like I didn't like Words with Friends or what was the one where you like had to like unscramble on the wheel or whatever?
Oh yeah.
Whatever that was. Like any of like the I don't know. I don't want to say that it's like a hipster mentality, but like those really super popular mobile games involving like words just don't appeal to me. Probably because it has to deal with words and I don't care to read.
Viewers, he's mad because Wordle requires 5 letters, and he specifically made Funky have 4 instead of 5.
Yes, because
That's why
all
he's
we
mad.
need is
Don't be
you,
fooled.
and you should go to the Funky store and like and subscribe because without you,
Because he can't make merch capitalizing over this because he'd have to spell his word right.
Exactly, no, Funky, like because all we need is you.
It's because he can't spell.
Yeah, that's what. Words be hard.
That's what happens when you like the jokes.
I draw pictures for a living.
Anyway, we've been shitposting for a while. We should probably stop. This has been reaction time. We'll see you next time.